Yo, what's up, everybody? It's Craigenneth here. Recently, I've just been thinking a lot about health, and I decided to make a video getting some of my thoughts out on just what I've been experiencing recently. I'm not a fitness expert or a doctor or some type of bodybuilder or anything that gets into extreme specifics of health. I've just realized certain things that have worked for me, and I'm trying to always get better. I have my own faults and issues, but that's kind of where learning and growing stems from. So I just figured that I would share some of my experiences and, let you all know what makes me feel better, have more energy, look better, and just enjoy life more. Because I feel like we all ought to do our best to be as healthy as we can. Over the years, I've realized that a lot of times the internet makes health seem like this, really large, gargantuan thing to try to figure out. And I try to just simple it to these 4 pillars of health, as I call it. 1 is sleep, 2, diet, 3, exercise, and 4 is mental health. I feel like if those 4 things are going in the right direction, your life will typically get a lot easier and better. And I know whenever one thing falls off, everything else kind of starts falling off too. And that's just, something that we don't really want to happen, but it does happen. And that's the one key thing to really remember. Health is not always a linear progression of getting better always. Sometimes you have issues, sometimes things pop up here and there, and that's just life. Life will throw you various curveballs and situations where you kind of get dumbfounded, and it can stem from these 4 things, or even from stress. A lot of things are mental, and we live in times that exacerbate our mental health and stress to a large degree. So, but first, let's get started with sleep. I feel like sleep is one that I kind of wanted to ignore more whenever I was younger. And I think that that's something that just happened because I wanted to game more, or I wanted to read more, or do one of my other hobbies at night more often, because I felt like time was always limited. Before you knew it, it was getting late, and you were getting tired, but you knew that you'd have to wake up the next morning and do the same routine or day again. But the older you get, the more you realize how important it is, because it can affect everything. Just as all of these other things can affect everything too, sleep is just one of those essential things that you really need to get. Your body's just repairing itself. I feel like a way that I was hearing about it too is that it organizes information, especially if you're in the specific states of sleep that are necessary for that to happen. And I feel like with good sleep, it just makes your mood better. It makes everything feel easier. It makes workout feel easier. It makes your focus even better. I noticed that my patience is better too. Just everything that your life can really benefit from in any way can be improved by having good sleep. So it's just one of those things that you really got to lock down, and it's still hard to figure out what works the best, and you really have to be disciplined about when you go to bed. And if you travel a lot, it can make it even harder. So there's a lot of key factors around that too that messes up with a lot of people, but it's such an important one to really nail down and figure out. So that's my first pillar. I'd say my second pillar is diet. Honestly, I think that diets are important for each individual person, because everybody has their own way of looking at food. But if there's anything that you can take away from a diet, is to have more water, fruits and vegetables, protein, whole foods, less ultra processed foods, like liquid calories like alcohol, or just mindless snacking. It's just one of those things to where once you kind of get a good routine of certain foods that you like to cook, certain things that you like to have usually that you know are good for you and are benefiting you and work for you, whether you're, like a vegetarian or an omnivore or somebody who, like a carnivore, you're on a carnivore diet, whatever diet works. I'm not trying to say what diet you should do, but just find one that really works and that is stepping away from, ultra processed food, liquid calories, lots of sugar, things that you just know are bad, that are generally bad, fried foods, just, it's okay to have those in moderation. Like most things, there's a balance, but that just shouldn't be the majority of your diet, because it's just very obvious through so many studies that you can find online all throughout that it's just not a healthy thing to be doing. So something definitely to look more into for yourself if you don't have something good down for your own diet, but it is a very key component to living healthily. The third pillar is exercise. And this one is something that we all need to be doing more often in today's day and age. Whenever you look at hunter-gatherers of the past, they were walking so many more steps than we do in the modern day. We sit far too much. We don't do what we ought to do with our body to burn the calories and move our ligaments, muscles to the degree that we should as humans. And it's important to recognize how much you do or don't do, because whether it's going for walks, runs, rock climbing, hiking, lifting weights, biking, whatever you can do to get out, I mean, that's what you should implement into your routine, because any of those is a good option. There's so many other activities out there that can get you up and active. But if you're doing weightlifting, or if you're doing something that could be dangerous, just be careful doing that thing too, because you don't want to have some exercise that you're trying to make your body healthy from hurt you while doing it. So there's a good balance there, but if you got to start anywhere, just start walking. Start getting on your feet, start moving around. And if that's even too difficult, I mean, just walk around your house. Just do something. Move your body. It can be anything, but move your body. It's crucial. It's something that we all need. And finally, the arguably biggest thing as well, because all these things tie into each other. But mental health is something that can make all of these other things go to complete horrid stages. Where if you're really not feeling good mentally, you don't want to go to the gym. You don't want to eat healthy. You don't want to cook your own food. So it can make you have poor diet, work out less. It can even make your sleep worse if you have, really bad depressive episodes. And this one's a really dense one because there's so much to mental health. So many people have so many different situations that they're in, and different categories of depression, or all of the different psychological, issues that somebody can have. So it's not such an easy thing to just say, fix your mental health, But the biggest thing is that if the other aspects of your life are healthy, a lot of times it can make your mental health better. So it all kind of blends together. And like I said, it's not an easy thing, because if you're lonely and you want to improve other aspects of your life, it's going to be that much harder, because that's one part of your mental health that is lacking, and that one part can't really be helped by just making the other aspects of your health even better. You have to go out and do something that gets you into social environments. So it kind of all compounds into this mental health category to make the other things become things that you do want to do more often. But it's just a compounding thing that has some good weeks and then might have some bad weeks. Like, let's say you have some weeks where you're hanging out with friends, you're doing the plans that you want to do after work. Maybe it is making something creative or enjoying a hobby, and you also cook some food, and you also go to the gym. And all these things are compounding. You're feeling good. Your mental health is going great. You're sleeping good because you're doing all of the other healthy practices in your life. You have a great week. And then the next week, maybe you have a car issue, and then you can't get to the gym. And then you can't work out as much. So then your exercise becomes poor, which maybe makes your sleep more poor because you're stressed about your car and getting to work, and that makes your mental health worse. And maybe because you're worrying about these things, your diet isn't as ideal as what it should be. So then your week becomes a little worse from maybe just one bad thing that happens. And this is just a very, isolated example. It could be from so many other things. And this is just assuming that you're just focusing on yourself. If you have other people that depend on you in your life, that's a even greater thing to have to be worrying about. So it's such a difficult thing to keep going in this trajectory of being so disciplined all the time in every aspect of your life. It's always something to be striving for. I'm not always the best at it either. It's hard for me. I have good and bad weeks. I want to be as optimal and healthy as I can, but you have those bad situations that can pop up, and that's just kind of the aspect of life. It's not always this, oh, just pull yourself up, become extremely disciplined, wake up at 4 a.m., take cold showers all the time, have the best tracking for your macros at all times, make sure that you get 8 hours of sleep and you go to bed at this specific time all the time. People do that for sure. And those people, it's impressive. But that's not always a realistic look into somebody's life. And that's just how it is. That's just the issue that we all face with health and betterment of ourselves. It's not necessarily always something that becomes a linear progression, because life happens. But if you try to get onto at least some type of schedule that works for you, that's really all that I'm trying to pitch in this video, as well as just trying to solidify it in my own mind and help myself out while putting something out there that can help out others. But that's really all that I had today. I hope that this helps you in some way, find more energy, maybe enjoy your hobbies, or just have a better vision and outlook on life. It's not something that will happen overnight. It's a difficult progress, and you'll have your setbacks, but do your best and become somebody that in a year from now is unrecognizable from you who you are today. But like I said, that's all I really had for today. Thanks for tuning in. Please hit subscribe and like for me. I'm really trying to be more consistent on this. I really drop off from video making. I got really into retro game collecting, and I want to make some videos on that too. I have some music in the background that I've been working on that I really want to put out there. So I have some projects that have been fun. I've just kind of been sidetracked for a little bit, but that's just another aspect of life that I'm trying to work on too. All right, thank you, and have a good rest of your day.